Hi everyone, I'm Touseef
And I'm Brooke.
and we're here from CoreConnect, and we wanted to share one of the events that I ran this past week in New York. It was a meetup. I'm running the New York Branding Meetup here in New York, and our first event was called What's Branding, and Brooke was there for the inaugural event. Thank you for coming, Brooke.
It was amazing.
It was amazing. So we had a discussion with a panel. We had 4 people on the panel, including myself. We had Sarah Hermalyn. We also had Elizabeth Talerman and also James Heaton. All of them have experience in the brand strategy area.
Yeah, and I would recommend to anybody that's watching this that you Google all 3 of them. They're all 3 amazing teachers, and they all gave us very broad insight into what branding means, and they all have videos online that are fascinating.
So what we'll do with the video, we'll write the names of the people underneath the video, and we'll also put the links so you can go check them out.
Okay, so where we started was with Elizabeth Talerman. She said something that I thought was really interesting, that in regards to branding and what it means, which was what the whole point of
It was what is
session
branding. That was the whole meetup. It was starting from the fundamentals because everybody is confused about what is really branding, so we wanted to break it down so everybody understands what that means.
So Elizabeth Talerman says, we create clarity for our clients, but we fail to create clarity in what we do in regards of branding. And the lack of clarity is creating confusion. What does that mean?
So the way that this all came about with what is branding is I remember that there was this paper that was published of 100 definitions of branding, and that was actually done by one of the panelists, Sarah Hermalyn. So I reached out to her, and so she was explaining by reaching out to all different people from the industry, from marketing to C-suite people, of what is branding. There are tremendous different ways of defining branding.
She got 100 different answers.
She has 100 different answers. And so that is a point of contention, is that if we can't even agree a proper definition of branding, then how are we supposed to understand and talk about it and have the same framework?
That the experts don't even articulate what branding means the same way. 100 different experts.
Right. And so therefore, Elizabeth was saying is that's part of the problem, is we need to all be talking the same way of what branding means, and it's only first as all brand practitioners, once we understand that, then we can actually explain that to the rest of the world. But if we can't even know what branding means amongst ourselves, amongst the experts, then there's no point in moving forward to that. So what we decided to do as a group is come up with a working definition of branding, so at least we'll have the same framework of talking to it. And I'm just going to say real quick what it is. A brand is basically what people feel, think, and say about your product, service, or company. This is established through their experiences and engagements. So it's a much broader way of looking at brand than what most people think. Most people think it's a logo, right? And they think, oh, it's your logo, it's your brand, you're done.
A tagline.
A tagline. It could be, oh, it's your product, that's your brand, you're done. But it's so much more. It's really how people are actually perceiving your brand, how they feel about it. And it includes the logo, but it's so much more. And when we talk about engagements and experiences, it's basically how do they feel when they go into the store? How do they feel when they have the product in their hands? How does that make them feel? When they call customer service, are they still having the same feeling? So it's all the different interactions and touch points with your brand.
So what did James Heaton mean then, Touseef, when he said your brand should push people away as much as it holds? It's a hard decision to not be for everyone, but all decisions are eliminations.
So that was an interesting way for him to position that statement. What he's really trying to say is that a lot of the times when you have a company, they want to sell a product, they want to say, I want to sell it, I just want to sell it to everybody. But that doesn't really work. What you really need is to segment and figure out what is your target audience. And by doing that, you automatically eliminate all the rest of the population, and that is okay. You don't have to please everybody. The more targeted you are, the more you're going to be relevant for a specific group of people. If you're trying to appease everybody, you're going to appease nobody.
So don't be all things to all people.
Absolutely not. It doesn't work. People have specific desires and specific needs, and you need to cater specifically to them. That's how you're going to become more successful and more meaningful to them.
The other thing he said that I thought was really interesting was that, and explain to me what this means exactly, but that you can have a brand that's differentiated, but if it's not operationalized by the product and the place, etc., then it's just a thing.
So this other point he mentioned is really about, even if you come up with your own brand definition that's very well defined and it's differentiating, it's a product that's differentiating in the marketplace, that's not enough. You have to figure out, what does that really mean in terms of how you're going to do your marketing? What does that really mean in terms of how you're going to be running even your company from the internal to the outwards? It's not, a brand is not a philosophical exercise. It's meant to be used to be utilitarian, so you can always go back to it and make it executional. How is that feeling of, I don't know, of safety going to be exuded in the way that you're going to have your customer service talk to the people? Or how is it going to be expressed in your logo? And how is it going to be expressed in your packaging? So you always go back to it. It needs to be operationalized in that way.
So it's like the question to the company is, are you living your own brand?
Right. Every time when you do something about your product, your service, or your organization, you need to ask yourself, is this on brand? And go back to your brand definition. Is this on brand? And if it's not, either you need to modify what you're creating, or if you realize that a lot of the times it's always off, then maybe you need to go back to your brand definition and actually modify that.
So
just one more thing, and the reason for all of this is it needs to be consistent. Your messaging needs to be consistent all the time, especially in this day and age of information overload. If you are saying something about your product and people are feeling different things about it, they don't know who you are and what you stand for. And we're so inundated with so much information now, that is now of prime importance, that they know who you are and what you stand for consistently.
I thought the most helpful takeaways from the session were the 5 questions that you need to ask to help a client or ask yourself how to establish your brand, and that it is, you need to figure out, what is our mission? Who is our customer, if it's not everybody? What is our value compared to our competitors? And what are the results? And what's the plan based on all that?
So I think that a lot of especially startups and business, small businesses, they think that by just having the product it's enough and people will come. But you have to ask the questions that Brooke just talked about, so that people understand, again, what is the feeling that you're trying to exude? Is it for them? And so they understand it better. And it's not just about features and rational thought. We are all human beings, and we are rational and we are emotional, and you need to connect to those 2 different areas.
Thanks, Touseef.
Thank you. And I just wanted to add one thing that I thought was really a very interesting way of looking at things. I think in this day and age, we're always so focused on doing stuff. Let's put stuff out there, from marketing, promotion, and all that stuff. And we need to actually really stop and think, is this really what we're trying to create? Is this really in alignment with the brand? You need to think, pause, and then redirect your attention if need be. I think we're sometimes, unfortunately, in a monkey mind, and we're just like pushing out stuff. We need to just calm down,
Take a deep breath,
think, is this really going to be something that's going to be valuable for my customer? Does this really make sense from a brand standpoint? And then you move forward. All right, thanks. So we had an awesome time in this meetup. We're going to be doing more meetups with the New York Branding Meetup, so I hope that you can come and check the rest of them. So thank you so much, and let's cheers.
Shall we cheers?
Because it's always fun to cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
See you later. It's pretty good.